I got a question from a viewer the other day that said he wanted to be anonymous if I actually addressed his question in a video, and he asked me about the switch that the US government is thinking about making for the military as far as their handguns are concerned. He specifically said, do I think they need to change their handgun, and if they change their handgun to a Glock, wouldn't I be pissed? Well, I don't know why I'd be pissed. I don't know why any decision the Army made would piss me off. Well, other than maybe if they switched to like a sexier uniform, maybe something sleeveless with a little midriff and a sensible heel, that would kind of piss me off, but mainly because I suggested that the whole time I was in the military. They didn't listen to me then, so if they did it now, I'd be a little bit upset. But as far as changing the handgun goes, I really don't care that much. Now, do I believe they actually have to change the handgun, that they need to change the handgun? No, the M9 is perfectly serviceable. The M9 is perfectly reliable. It is a very good duty weapon. They do not need to change it. It suits their needs perfectly. The only reason they're even considering changing it now is to spend money, to give money to outsourcing firms, to give money to contracting firms, to give money to advisors, and to spend some of their budget so they don't get less of a budget next year. Believe me, I've been a party to many times where out on maneuvers with the guard, they'll be like, we need to burn all these tires and burn all this extra fuel, or next year they're going to give us less money for tires and fuel if we go back with some still left over. So the government, especially the military, is really good at wasting money. And when you really think about it, a sidearm in the military is not an important firearm. It's mostly for decoration. It's little more than, a brooch for your uniform. It's mostly worn by officers and certain non-combat units. Now there are combat troops that carry them, but most of their fighting is done with their rifle. If they end up fighting with their handgun, then something's probably gone wrong. And if they do end up fighting with their handgun, the M9 is perfectly serviceable. It is perfectly suited for what they need in a handgun. So there's no real reason to change it. Especially now when we're really not going into any new wars right now. We're actually coming out of some wars. So it's a really weird time to be changing the handgun. Now, as far as the part of would I be pissed if they actually switched to the Glock? Well, no, I wouldn't be pissed at all if they switched to Glock. I really wouldn't care. As long as they were made in this country by good union American labor and the money was going into the pockets of workers to build that gun and going into the pocket of a distributor that was local, I really don't care. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's still a foreign company getting the money, so the money's going to go overseas, the profits. Profits go overseas no matter what company you give it to nowadays. I just want to see the workers getting their fair share of the money. And let's face it, the Glock would be far cheaper than any other gun they could choose. Let's face it, if you had a contract as big as the military is going to have, the Glocks would probably run them about $50 each. Our local department here, the big Portland department, only pays $75 a piece for them, and the Vancouver department, which is much smaller, only pays $125 for them. So a military-sized contract for a Glock is going to be so cheap per gun. And they'll probably get multiple warranty turn-ins on that, meaning if at any time they want to turn the gun in after 2 years, they just turn it in, Glock gives them a new one, Glock resells the old gun for more than what it cost for them to replace it, so therefore they're still making a little bit of money, but the military keeps getting new guns. That's very common with Glock contracts. Anyone that's ever dealt with a Glock contract for law enforcement or anything like that knows that's a very common feature in the contracts. That's why you see so many Glock police trade-ins and other kind of trade-ins on sale online, because Glock takes those guns back, gives them new guns, and then resells those guns to distributors for more than what it cost them to provide the new Glocks. So the Glocks would be very cheap, and they're a very competent and capable firearm. They would serve the needs of the U.S. military perfectly. I don't see any problem with them having the Glock. It wouldn't reduce their readiness at all. Now, when it comes to rifles and heavy artillery, things like that, I'm like, spare no expense for the military. Give them whatever gives them the greatest chance of defeating the enemy and surviving the conflict. But when it comes to handguns, the Glock would be just fine, even though it's a lot cheaper. And even though it's not the best gun ever. I would say the Beretta M9 is a better gun than the Glock, and there's lots of guns out there that are far better than the Glock, but none of them would be as cheap and as good. The fuck was that? Is there a fucking squirrel in our vent? So in the end, do I think they need to change? No, they definitely don't need to change. They probably even shouldn't change, but they're going to change because they want to spend the money. So they're going to spend the money anyway. So let's hope that once they do that, the guns they choose are good for the job, but as economical as possible. That way, they spend less taxpayer money, that's less money out of our pockets, and we can use that extra money to go buy ourselves guns that are far better than the Glocks.